So, good forenoon of the second day of our Eastern Partnership Business Forum. My name is Václav Lídl. I'm head of the division for Eastern Partnership, Balkans and Turkey at the Ministry of Industry and Trade. So basically I belong to the guys that organize this whole event. As for now, I will attempt to lead you through this specialized breakout on a very important, very significant sector for the development of ties, business ties between Eastern Partnership countries and EU countries, and also amongst the Eastern Partnership countries themselves, the smart cities. We deem that this topic is definitely very actual, very valid. Therefore, it is quite dominant, I'd say, in our trade promotion activities of the Czech MIT and Czech agencies that are working on trade promotion. We almost mentioned several times that if we would have this tradition of like naming years according to sectors that we promote, this year would definitely be the year of smart cities promotion. As for the structure of today's panel, we will start basically from an attempt to define for ourselves what entails the smart cities. Then we will ponder how these projects, these initiatives could be financially supported, and then we will have a look at the contemporary smart city solutions, and finally concrete examples of projects in the smart city area that are implemented in the countries of Eastern Partnership or that are planned to be implemented in the countries of Eastern Partnership. What's also very special about this breakout is the fact that it's very intimately connected to that special fair that we've prepared to you, and that the fair that you've visited also yesterday. These are again examples of interesting smart city solutions of Czech companies present in the EAP countries. It's also connected to two of our panelists, because we have here Roman Sorkin from Škoda Transportation, which has stand over there, and also Michal Neumann, who is also responsible for one of those companies, Infinity, that's also presenting in there. I would also in the beginning like to mention the fact that we are very glad that because of the presidency and because of the gravity of this forum, we've managed to attract not only official delegations from the EAP countries, but also very significant business delegations from all 5 countries, because we really are for this bottom-up approach when we really think that each connection, each business opportunity really matters in order to integrate the Eastern Partnership countries more in the direction of the internal market of the EU, and so on and so forth. So we're very glad that this time we really do have like many business representatives from the EAP countries, and I would also like to mention that after this session, the participants from EAP countries will participate in a specialized field trip also on smart cities in Hradec Králové. But now I would like to turn to the first of our panelists, Miroslav Scheiner, who is the coordinator of the project City for the Future at the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Czech Republic. He will start, as I've promised, with definition how we perceive smart cities, how to promote them, how to promote exporters of smart cities solution. Marek, the floor is yours.
Many thanks for the introduction. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My goal now is to use the privilege of opening this session to start sketching how we should perceive smart cities in more complex way. It's important to say that I'm not expert in any specific field of smart cities, but my role is that of coordinator, of a national coordinator, so I'm dealing with the whole complexity, and my role is always to take the highest grounds possible and try to connect the dots and really see the whole of the problem. I just would need to load the presentation, which is not loaded yet, I guess, or is it? Perfect. Many thanks. So as I said, I'm going to draw a kind of general sketch of how we perceive smart cities, and I would like to do so using 3 basic points, and that's the importance, meaning, and challenges of smart cities. It will be very simplified, but I want to give you just a quick glimpse of the whole complexity so that we really get the whole picture of what smart city means. Maybe the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, why are smart cities important? Why do you spend your time now here listening to this presentation? And I just pulled out a few numbers. I think they don't need any specific comment. Of course, you can take them with a grain of salt, and I would definitely recommend that. But at the same time, I think if you take it however you want, you will have to arrive at the very same conclusion that if you want to make any transformative action that should have impact, you can focus on cities because there is a lot of potential. And at the same time, if we aim for any transformative action, such as Green Deal, this can't be successful if it doesn't include cities, just because of these numbers. However, at the same time, the cities give us a lot of potential. They generate potential for this transformation because cities are kind of hubs or hotspots where all activities of humans, whatever we do, all sectors of industries, all this is connected in one intersection, and all this collides in very small space, and because of those collisions, we are forced to do something, and it really stimulates the progress. So there is a lot of potential. And I would suggest also looking at the complexity, because now we have this conference broken into sessions. But if I should pick one session that is superior in terms of the topic, I would definitely say it's smart cities, because it includes digital transition, it includes energy transition, and it also includes smart agriculture. For example, we can look at the agriculture of farming as, in fact, a sector that is dealing with supplying or producing food and supplying cities with food, because most of inhabitants live there. So agriculture is about supplying cities and like all the logistics that is connected to that. So that's about the importance. Now this question, what does smart city really mean? It may seem a little bit trivial, but I would say that this is the source maybe of most misunderstandings around smart city, and I won't be secretive, and I can just state right from the beginning that I think that smart city concept as we perceive it from the beginning is not correct, and that we need to update it a little bit in order to fit to today's world. The thing is that if you look at the definitions of smart cities, mostly you will find these terms, which is okay. Definitely, this is part of smart cities, but equaling smart cities with digital cities, I think it's not enough, and definitely not in today's world. And there is one big problem about this, because when you perceive city as something digital, as something for geeks, then you create a huge gap between the concept and the end users of this concept, which are just ordinary people who live in cities, but also people who govern cities, people at municipalities. If you get too technical, it's really only for a very narrow group of people, and all the rest doesn't understand what smart city can be about, and there's really this gap, and people are not engaged. They don't see any reasons why they should care about smart cities. Recently there was a study conducted among Czech mayors, and one interesting fact is that especially if you go to smaller cities, maybe it's not the case of Prague or Brno or the bigger cities, but if you go to small cities, you'll find out that there's a perception that smart city is something that is pushed from above. And that's also quite a big problem, and it's a little bit disturbing, because it means that the people who should develop smart city concepts and who are one of the main actors, they don't understand how this is related to them and how they should work with it. And the reality of Czech smart city implementations, I don't say that every time, but most of the times it ends up like this. And definitely this is not an offense against smart benches. I like smart benches, and if I'm in park, I definitely welcome a charger for my phone. It's useful, but still there are more aspects around it. You won't probably like this bench if it's located in a noisy place, if it's in a place that is not safe, if the bench gets vandalized in 2 weeks after installation, and if it's not accessible by public transport, and if you are sitting in a place that is polluted, for example. So there are like many aspects around that. The problem is that the wide perception is really that those things that I would call a final touch of smart cities are becoming the mainstream thing, and then you can hear from, let's say, even prominent and relevant people from smart city area that at this time smart city must be pushed aside because now we have like energy crisis and we need to deal with energies. And then you can say just, oh my God, we have a big problem, because people don't see that energy is the main pillar of smart city. That's the blood in the veins of city, and that's the really core of the concept. So then we just focus on those small aspects like benches, and we completely omit the main systemic things that really matter. So that's why we created also the concept City for the Future that I coordinate in cooperation with my colleagues from Czech Trade Agency. In fact, we created this as a platform for presentation of Czech solutions internationally, and we use it as also a platform to exchange know-how with our partners from around the world. But what we are also trying is to redefine what smart means. And our definition could be broken down to, let's say, these 3 points. For us, smart cities are about creating places where people want to spend their lives, spend their future. That's why it's City for the Future. So we don't focus anymore on the tools, technology, because let's say our lives can be good sometimes even without technology. It's not necessarily the way to get to good life. It's just one of the tools, but that's not the only tool. We should also have the wider perspective. The second point, sustainability and harmony between city and nature. I dare say that sustainability is definitely more important than having high-tech city. And the reason is very simple, because if you have sustainable city that is not so well developed, you can still live a decent life. But if you have high-tech city that is unsustainable, it won't last very long. And we won't have any place for future generations. And the third point, synergic interaction of all city elements supported by technology and innovation. So it's not about particle innovations, about introducing high-tech things just as individualities, but having the whole picture, the whole patchwork, and have it organized and connected in such a way that the city is efficient. This is just one one example that I like to use why technology is not the solution for everything, because I guess that all of us prefer to live in the world that is in the left picture, and sometimes the technology is not the smartest way of solving problems. And now I'm getting to my final part, what challenges lie on the way to smart cities. As I said, I'm dealing with the systemic level, so I'm focusing on the systemic problem, and this will be very simplified because I have very limited time. But what I see as a really structural problem is that when you are dealing with smart cities, in the end, it always breaks down to the fact that there is a municipality and some officers in the municipality that need to buy an innovative service or product and implement it in a city. And this is a big problem because to do this you need to answer questions what you want to procure, how to do it administratively, and how do you pay for it. And if you are dealing with these matters on the level of municipality, it's like too big piece to chunk. So the way how to solve this, we are now looking at the moment. We are in the process of dealing with this and finding ways out of the situation, because this is really a big problem in the Czech Republic, and I guess it's very similar in other countries in our region, also in Eastern Partnership region, in the Balkans, and like everywhere in our parts of the world. And what we find as a method that is already used, for example, in Finland, is doing very narrow pilot actions. For example, Helsinki, they have very developed model of so-called agile piloting. It means that you really break the big chunk into very small chunks, and when you identify innovation with a high potential, you just try to implement it in a selected city. If you do it in a small scale, you don't usually have troubles with financing. You can go through simple public procurement processes, and you can also use this as a way to get external experts on board. And if you just go like piecemeal process, you can gradually implement specific projects that then get ready for upscaling, and this upscaling of something already existing is always much easier than just starting from scratch with big things. And my last slide, to make this work, this piloting mechanism work, this is very important for it. Quadruple helix innovation model. It's quite simple idea. Just if you put society in certain categories, you can break it into academia, industry, government, and civic society. And especially when dealing with smart cities, you have innovation that first come as idea in academia. Then this idea is turned into a solution that can be implemented in industry. Then you have government, which in terms of smart city is usually the buyer of the solution, but it can be also a coordinator or stimulator, policymaker, which supports or bans something. So there's also an important role. And then you have the civic society as the final recipient of the solution of and the end user. And if you look at the reality, you will find out that this should work smoothly, but it doesn't work smoothly because there are several parts of this chain are broken or weak. For example, civic society is usually just passive recipient. It's not the active creator of smart cities. There are some good examples, for example, Amsterdam, but they are quite limited. Here it doesn't work. And the major problem is on the link between industry and government, and especially local government. That's what I showed you at this slide, because when there is an innovative solution, you need a municipality to implement it. And if the municipality doesn't have the skills, doesn't have the money, and doesn't maybe even know that there is innovation to be implemented, then innovations don't have their natural market. So this blocks the whole process of innovation. We are currently planning to do Interreg Danube project for, let's say, this problem, and As I know, Interreg also covers some territories in Eastern Partnership. We are planning to submit a proposal for this call, which will be at the end of November. So if any one of you is interested to join us, we are still open to talks, and we will be happy if we can work together. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will give floor back to my colleague.
Well, Mirek, thank you very much for your wide but very thorough and rigorous definition of smart cities sector. I've distilled from it for myself that we are basically facing this sort of dichotomy between having as much as possible comfort for the citizens of cities, and on the other hand that it has to remain also as much as possible sustainable. How to support the sustainability or sustainable development of smart cities, and how to finance this development, that will be addressed by our next speaker, Camilla Committeri, who is the principal for the Digital Hub project from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Camilla, the floor is yours.
Right, thank you so much for that, and thank you for inviting us to present the digital approach and how the bank is planning to embed smart and digital elements across its programming. So for those who don't know, the EBRD is an international finance institution with a focus on private sector investments. And by statute, some 75% of our investments have to be in the private sector, so that's our key focus. We are active in the Eastern Partnership countries, as well as the Middle East and North Africa, Turkey, the Western Balkans, and Central Asia. So that's for those who didn't know. I know you said earlier that 2022 was the year of smart cities. For EBRD, 2021 was the year of digital. Last year we published in our flagship research product, the Transition Report, quite an in-depth analysis of how digitalization is taking shape across our countries of operations, and in identifying key gaps and opportunities for investment in the bank. And on the basis, I'm not going to read the slides, you have them there for reference, but on the basis of these gaps, last year as well, we developed a digital approach. This is the first time the bank comes out with a holistic view on what it is that we can do to leverage digital in order to achieve transition impact or development impact. So very much to your point earlier, Miro, it's not about systematically deploying digital everywhere and anywhere, but it's about being mindful and thoughtful about if and how that digital solution is deployed. And so you have here the three areas of focus of the approach, which we are pursuing through investments, so loans and equity, as well as policy dialogue with our partner countries and advisory services for our clients. There are three layers in the view of trying to be as holistic as possible. The first one is about fostering and building the foundations of a digital economy, in particular via the rollout of ICT infrastructures and the enabling legal and regulatory frameworks for digital entrepreneurship to thrive. Then we have adaptation, and so digital transformation and supporting the digital transformation of business models of our clients. And finally, we have innovation and how we can partner with the more frontier technology firms to bring them into the mainstream and piloting those solutions. You have here an example of how actually from last year to this year, we have already slightly recast our focus because as a consequence of everybody and anybody digitalizing in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and the more recent events on the war in Ukraine, we have come out with a cybersecurity toolkit for our clients to just make sure that they're aware of the cyber risks that come with entering the digital economy as a whole. So you have here under adaptation, and this is what I'm going to focus on for the rest of the presentation really, is how we embed digital elements into our Green Cities program. And this is because the EBRD Green Cities program is a flagship of the bank. It was launched in 2016. It is now active in over 50 cities, and we have mobilized some 5 billion euros in EBRD and donor financing to do it. And it really presents a quite a holistic approach to green a city. And so with what I was saying earlier about digital solutions having to be purposeful and mindful and for a higher purpose than digital solutions themselves, this was really a no-brainer for us to look at how we could embed digital across all the sectors that you see on the slide up here, from urban transport to district energy to solid waste, energy efficiency of buildings, energy networks, and so on. So it's not the smart bench, it's not only the smart bench that you saw earlier in the slides. It's about embedding digital across all of this. So Green Cities, for those who don't know, is structured across 4 main components. There is a strategy and policy support element with a Green Cities action plan, which looks at the baseline of the city and tries to identify priority activities and policies that need to be developed in order to then trickle into a number of investments. So again, I'm not going to speak to this slide, but you can sort of see here what the process is from the trigger investment to the follow-on ones. And digital and the approach that we're taking with Green Cities is really to mainstream it across the whole process. And it starts with the methodology for smart maturity assessments in the Green Cities Action Plan, and it goes all the way to knowledge sharing at the end. But this approach is really about trying to bring cities into a smart world through a systematic, coordinated, and contextualized approach. So I guess the key element here is the Green City Action Plan and the Smart Maturity Assessment. And as you can see, this is really about looking at how the city captures, stores, integrates, and analyzes data in order to identify 3 types of smart-related developments, which start from smart-ready infrastructures that you see at the bottom over there, and go all the way up to the data-based decision-making elements. This is, again, to ensure that whenever we recommend the deployment of a digital technology in a green city new infrastructure project, this is for the benefit of the city and the community which it's trying to serve, and it's really about improving the quality of services. So to make this a little bit more specific, we've listed here a couple of smart solutions that we look at frequently across the transport, water, utilities, and data systems of a city. At this point, I'd like to spend a little bit of time looking at green cities and how smart solutions have been deployed in practice, because I think otherwise it can be a little bit abstract with words. And we start here with with the examples from the Eastern Partnership region, so I'm hoping you'll be able to recognize yourselves in some of these ones. Throughout, I think what's really important to note is that this kind of work would not be possible without donor funding and donor support, because there is a discrete level of analytical work that goes into this before the investments are ready for rollout. And so we start with Tbilisi. We start with Tbilisi because it completed its Green City Action Plan back in 2017, after about a year of engagement when it first joined Green Cities. And to date, we've seen around 230 million euros of investments across a whole host of sectors that include the deployment of smart solutions on specific bases. And you can see from the slides that this goes from solid waste to e-buses. We then stay in Georgia and look at Batumi. This is a little bit more specific on electric buses. This was the first time we looked at electric buses in the region for the bank. And the project was really about understanding how to improve and modernize the fleet. So again, a service for the citizens. And this, in addition to EBRD, the Shareholder Special Fund, was also funded by the an E5P grant. Again, another couple of case studies from the region. I'm not going to go into great detail on all of this. We can come back to them during the questions and answers if you're interested, or you can catch me after if you have more specific questions. But I think the overall principles here are, again, about being very purposeful about how and when to deploy the smart solution, and making sure that it comes with capacity building at the city level, so that the deployment of that technological solution can be maintained throughout the life cycle of the technology itself. And again, here a couple of other case studies, and you can see EBRD, SSF, and the E5P grant are recurring donors for these projects. I think I want to conclude here with one last slide, which is about the future and how we're looking at what else we can offer to municipalities and our clients in the private sector. And this is something that the Digital Hub is working in partnership with the Sustainable Infrastructure Department of the bank. We're almost ready to launch a series of toolkits that look at digitalization opportunities across sectors, the sectors you see here of transport, water, solid waste, energy, and business and district heating. And so these really dive quite deeply into the sector and what the opportunities are in that specific sector. Whereas what you see on the opposite end, cities digitalization, title pending, is more about taking more of a bird's eye view into what Miroslav was saying earlier. This is about considering cities not just as a set of municipalities and utilities that exist in a space, but the fact that it's where most humans live, and so how we can digitalize the city in order to deliver better services, but also just a better experience for the private sector that operates in that city. And so this is more of a work in progress, and I really welcome your feedback or questions, because we're in the very early stages of defining this, actually. But what we're aiming to look at here is to see the opportunity of digital twins and how that can be adapted to some of the more low ICT regions in which we operate, and how we can look at the data and the use of data and digitalizing assets so that that information is more readily available for a whole host of actors looking to invest or already operating in the city. And then something that doesn't really have to do with digitalizing infrastructures or utilities, but actually is more about how does a city attract those innovation hubs and create that ecosystem for transformation that then they can deploy in localized solutions. So I will be inclined to stop here. That's my contact information if you need it later, but happy to take questions in due course. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Camilla, for your intervention. I especially appreciated those real-life examples from the EAP countries, those case studies, which basically brings us to the second half of our panel, to the business part of it. So I would like to pass the floor to Roman Sorkin, who is Area Director for Eastern Partnership, especially at the Škoda Transportation, which is one of the biggest European manufacturer of public transport vehicles and systems. He will focus his presentation especially on the utilization of smart technologies in public transportation. The floor is yours.
Hello everyone. First of all, thank you very much to the Ministry. We are grateful for inviting us, so thank you for having us here. And we in Škoda Transportation, we are fully committed to the idea of smart cities and smart transportation. And today I would like to offer you a very small but entertaining insight. We had a very effective day and very demanding evening yesterday, so regards to everyone presented. So today I will go less words and more visuals to entertain you a little, and I will show you two parts. First will be a movie we prepared together with our sister company, Telefonica O2. And the second part will be a small example of the practical implementation of the ideas of the smart city we are already able to propose to you and to our cities. So please show us the movie.
Behold, the city of the future. Here, technologies are ensuring your safety, comfort, and time efficiency. Here, three cooperating companies, Škoda Group, Intense, and O2, are bringing to the table all the know-how and modern devices to create the life-changing experience of urban public transportation. Imagine a regular citizen, Peter. He opens the mobile app and purchases a ticket. The app automatically provides him with all the details about the journey ahead. While on his way, Peter's safety is ensured by a comprehensively connected infrastructure, including an anti-collision system. The latter is activated when Peter steps onto the road in front of a fast-approaching tram. The sensory set of anti-collision systems spots a potential threat in the virtual tunnel of the tram's route. CITS sends information to all the nearby vehicles that could be affected. The tram's brakes are triggered, the cars behind the tram are also safely stopped, and Peter's phone vibrates to warn him about a dangerous situation. The system has prevented the worst, and Peter safely reaches the tram station he was heading to. Traffic returns to normal after the threat is gone. Peter gets on the tram, which has arrived just in time due to its priority at the crossroads thanks to the CITS system. During the journey, Peter checks the scheduled arrival time with his mobile app, as well as the amount of CO2 he is helping to reduce by choosing the tram instead of the car this morning. All of this is possible thanks to the intelligent 5G network provided by O2, which enables the secure transmission of large amounts of data in real time, its processing in the cloud and operations center. Smart cities, together for a brighter future.
So that was a little insight into the future, not so far future, hence, and now I will show you a little example of how we are stepping on the way to this future or similar systems. So can I ask you for the presentation? This is the city of Helsinki today. So this year was very demanding for us, and several months, or a month ago, less than a month ago, in fact, we have proudly presented on the InnoTrans Berlin exhibition our new development, the anti-collision system, which is a kind of a revolutionary technology. I'll try to explain you very simply in the following slides. In fact, this is the way of how automation systems are developed, and the Go levels, typically you can find it everywhere in technical specifications, tender documentation. The Go stands for grade of automation as developed. Typically the first phase was introducing the active emergency braking to avoid dangerous collisions, and this phase is typically behind us already. Then now we are working extensively with the level 2, which mainly means introducing of optimal braking maneuver. That means, in fact, now as we are able to predict the point or the probability of collision, we are able to stop the vehicle in the calculated and targeted point. That means no uncomfortable emergency braking, but very optimal maneuver. The next phase was introducing automatic train operation. That means optimal driving plan with the focus on energy savings. This we have a very huge experience with metro. We started with the metro systems, in fact, and this is the point I would like to highlight. We are a railed vehicles producer, and there is a critical difference with the cars. Most of cars are now associated with Tesla technology or so-called automated vision based on the cameras, because the situation on the roads, on the typical roads, are mostly unpredictable. In the rail transport, we work with fully or semi-isolated transport systems. That means the metro tunnel is the ideal situation. That is basically the reason why those systems started to be developed there, because in the isolated system, it is relatively easy to predict, calculate, and implement this automated behavior of the vehicle. And then we are continuing to the illustration you have seen with the trams. I will say more words in the following slides, but the principle is even these rails, the rail system of trams interdicts with the normal traffic. We can still create a so-called virtual tunnel. Well, the level 3 is already a critical element of the smart cities in the meaning of energy saving, and this is really a critical element of our green approach, because so far we have assessed each tram or each train as a single vehicle consuming energy, and now we can speak about the transportation systems, because by aligning the phases of acceleration and deceleration of vehicles in the energy system and optimizing the complete energy strategy, aligning the energy consumption peaks and losses in the system, we can greatly improve the overall energy consumption of the transportation system. So this is of utmost importance on our way towards the smart and green technology. Now we are working not with the single vehicle, but with the system consisting of rails, consisting of vehicles in the operation, and also the utmost importance, the energy system, and introducing specialized energy strategies. And level 3 also relates to the automated door opening, which means more that it can look like it is the element of safety. The statistics of opening the doors on the front side is quite often affected. This is a safety relevant issue. By solving this, we greatly improve to the overall safety of the transportation system introduced in the city. And of course, the depot management. We do not see it as a passengers, but depot management can mean in the overall maintenance plan huge losses or savings into the overall budgeting and the economy of the project. So when, in example, we are talking together with EBRD about the financing of the new system, this is a key element of investment returns, in fact, because this is a great share in the capex and the opex of the subsequent project. And the city. I mean, we all see that the automated driving is our future, and we are on the way towards this. Of course, rail systems are more friendly introduction for such systems completed to the cars, because those systems are fully or semi-isolated. So a little bit of example how we are going towards these fully autonomous driverless trains. Our main difference is, as I told, now every driverless operation are associated with Teslas and with this computerized vision based on cameras, which so far doesn't show us the results, which can say that we can make a next step and put our hands off the driving wheel. This is not the situation of the current days. Obviously, we see what is going on with Tesla cars. Having these isolated systems gives us totally other possibilities. Our technology is not based on cameras. It is based on so-called LiDARs, which is a radar technology. We fully scan our infrastructure, our main line, creating so-called visual tunnel. It is, of course, supported by the cameras, but basically in every second of the time, the vehicle knows exactly its position, and it can calculate, as you have seen, the probability of the collision, and based on that calculation, deploy the braking system, and not only in the emergency regime, but not in the emergency mode, but more calculating the target point of stop, making this deceleration comfortable for the passengers. So this is, in fact, the picture how does the train or the tram sees the infrastructure or the line it is following. Yeah. So you can see it is all scanned by LiDAR, and it knows exactly the environment it is operating in. And a little bit of example of how this virtual tunnel works in the real environment of the daily transportation in Helsinki. So far, I can proudly say that the first tests were overwhelmingly successful because 100% of obstacles were securely detected and there were 0% of false alerts. Basically, the set consists of LiDAR. This is a 3D scanning. You have seen the example. It is contributed by the cameras for more safe situational specific orientation, alarm for the driver, which is saying to him that the collision is probable and it is still quite comfortable to travel in such a vehicle. Bell configuration, customizable signaling for the driver. We can all customize it according to the need of this or that specific operator or the city or operational habits of the transportation company. And the summary now we are already able to implement the obstacle detection, the emergency braking. We are able to fit or retrofit LiDAR cameras and HD high definition LiDAR scanned maps. We can deploy it on already existing vehicle, not only on the vehicle we have produced, but on basically every more or less modern tram by the year 2023. And the next phase will be fully driverless operation. The critical point, as I said, we are able to discuss retrofit. So when we will come to the city with this system, with new trains, the fleets won't be separated into two parts. That means we will get the existing fleet up to the point of where they will match by these functions the newly delivered vehicles. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your impressive presentation, which definitely confirms that Škoda Transportation is one of the leaders in its sectors, and we hope that we will see more of their vehicles and solutions in the EAP countries. And now I would like to continue with the business panel. Last but not least, Michal Neumann, who is CEO of Czech company Market Connect, which basically represents several leading Czech smart city enterprises, and he will present us various projects, various implementations of these companies in the AP countries. Michal, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will, in my presentation, briefly sum up some experiences and examples of a smart city project done with Czech technologies from innovative SMEs. And I have chosen two countries, Moldova and Georgia, where we will see the examples of different projects. Just a few words about ourselves. So we are a consulting company in international development, focusing on innovative solutions in the field of smart cities, intelligent mobility, environment and energy. So basically we work with innovative SMEs and at the same time with municipalities setting up common projects. We have had two head offices actually, one in Luxembourg for Western Europe and the second one here in Prague for Central Europe, and then we have representations in different countries, mainly in Europe and also in Eastern Partnership countries in Tbilisi and in Chisinau. We collaborate closely together with different organizations and institutions. Well, I mention here UNDP because we have quite a long list of projects together with UNDP, but of course European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Several of our consultants are accredited by the bank. We work closely together also. And here in the Czech Republic, of course, our ministries, Ministry of Industry and Trade, who is hosting this conference, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Czech Development Cooperation, so, and Czech Trade Promotion Agency. Now, let me come to some concrete examples of projects realized first in Moldova. So in Moldova, we have been working quite actively during the last 4 years on projects with Chisinau, the city of Chisinau, and different municipal organizations. In other municipalities, currently in Úvodním and Cahul. We hope soon to start a new project in Balci, which is the second biggest city in Moldova. And then with different ministries and public entities, I mention here Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Infrastructure and State Road Administration, but we have done also projects with private companies in Moldova. So, to give you an example how different types of projects can be done with one municipality. Here at Chisinau, what we have done, we have started actually working with Czech experts from the company Smartplan and Czech Technical University here in Prague, because Chisinau lacked some strategic documents, so we mobilized some financing from the Czech Republic to help them with these experts, and they drafted Smart Transport and Mobility Strategy and Action Plan for Chisinau City. Then after that, or parallel to that, we have already starting with some pilot project or some other projects. So basically we have found out that we are, which is a typical situation, especially in the countries of Eastern Europe and Eastern Partnership, we lack a lot of data. So to prepare these plans, we were lacking information on traffic surveys. So it was important to deliver first the camera set to do such traffic surveys, to train the local people. Here we did it in collaboration with Green City Lab in Chisinau and with Technical University of Moldova, training them how to use this, so then gathering the data, and then we started implementing some concrete projects. So there is a smart city platform, Czech smart city platform in VIPO, which is in use in Chisinau, that integrated several of the existing technologies in the city. We have done a pilot project with Czech company Cross on dynamic traffic control and intersection coordination. There is another project which is now being finalized with company Herman on public transport passenger information system in Chisinau. And we are happy that these different pilot projects are already bringing concrete results and follow-up projects. Because, for example, Cross is now spreading towards further intersection in Chisinau, and just recently colleagues from Smartplan won a tender for an EU finance project on design of traffic monitoring center in Chisinau. I would like to also add that several of the representatives of these Czech companies are here. In VIPO has a stand here, and people from Cross or Smartplan are also here, if you would like to meet some of those. Examples from other municipalities, so as I mentioned, Cahul and Úvodním, which are rather smaller size towns, 30,000 each. We have done one project on intelligent control of public lighting system in Úvodním with the Czech company Datmolux. And currently we are again implementing this in VIPO platform in both Úvodním and Cahul. Actually, so you can see this smart city platform can be applied even in smaller cities and municipalities. And again, I am glad to say that it was again a tender financed by, actually it was EU for Moldova program where these Czech companies succeeded. Projects with other ministries and public entities. As I said, we find out that we lack traffic data. Of course, you can organize one-time traffic survey, but normally we will need the data, the current data, updated data all the time. So what we did, we have seen there are cameras, of course, in Chișinău, cameras that are used by the National Police, so Ministry of Internal Affairs, for finding drivers, so speeding, red light violations, etc. And we submitted a project with, again, an innovative Czech company, Data from Sky, which adds on these existing cameras, smart artificial intelligence-based analytics that actually is able to collect or use from these cameras data on traffic counting, classification of vehicles, so that actually the police and Ministry of Internal Affairs, but this data can be then shared with Chișinău municipality and also with the road administration, so they have an exact access to updated and current data from all the positions where these cameras are. Well, with the Ministry of Infrastructure and State Road Administration, we have implemented a road weather system in the Republic of Moldova with Czech company again, Cross, which is very useful, especially for winter maintenance of roads, national roads. Then again, there are some technologies on national roads already, like these road weather stations or traffic counting. So we implemented an ITS platform that collects the data from all these existing technologies and systems and uses it for state road administration. At the same time, we have seen that actually the Ministry of Infrastructure also was interested, because they are with big support of EBRD and European Investment Bank. They are renovating their roads, national roads. But of course, overloaded vehicles can be a problem, damaging these such roads, and so they were interested in our experience in so-called wait in motion system. So basically, waiting the vehicles, especially the trucks, heavy vehicles, without stopping. So there was again a project with some Czech financing on a capacity building and elaboration of a study on implementation of such system in Moldova on national roads. Again, the colleagues from Smart Plan and Czech Technical University worked on that. And now, recently, our company Cross succeeded in a national tender in Moldova on implementing traffic monitoring system on national roads. So you can see we have several different systems working also on the roads, intelligent traffic systems, not only in the cities but also on national roads. We have some projects with private companies, just finishing now 2 projects. One company, Green Center, which is implementing their automatic parking system with integrated charger for electrical vehicles in Chișinău, and with company Zygmunt Electronics, camera inspection system for maintenance of sewage networks in Moldova. In Georgia, again, some examples. So we have some projects with the city of Tbilisi, with the city of Batumi and its municipal organizations, and with other public or private entities, such as United Water Supply Company of Georgia, Georgian Water and Power. In Tbilisi, we are currently finalizing also the implementation of this smart city platform. So a pilot project basically with several modules. Here on the scheme you can see different modules in different areas which can be integrated in such platform. In Batumi, we have just finished one project of adaptive low-power traffic lights control with advanced detection and bus prioritizations. So they have actually with support of UNDP, introduce their dedicated bus lanes, and EBRD, as we have heard, helped them to finance electrical buses. And now what we did with this project is that on this dedicated bus line, these electrical buses are detected and get priority on intersections. Then there was another project in the field of waste management with municipal waste management company, Sanda Subtaveba. So basically also experience transfer and capacity building and waste sorting line, because they started separating the waste but needed a line to separate then the plastics into different categories and paper and etc. And there was a study tour for them to the Czech Republic so that they could see how such system works and help them with this. And now we are just starting implementing again with the company Sigmund Electronics camera system for inspection and maintenance of sewage networks in Batumi. I'm actually glad that in Georgia we have even several other projects within this field. We have worked with United Water Supply Company of Georgia, where there was a knowledge transfer, capacity building and implementation of these modern methods for control and maintenance of sewage and water networks. And after that, when their colleagues from Georgian Water and Power have seen the system, they have also actually bought such system even into a vehicle. So basically in Georgia this water sector is very concentrated because there are only three main operators. There is Georgian Water and Power working in Tbilisi and Rustavi. Then there is Batumi Water working in Batumi and Ajara, and United Water Supply Company of Georgia working in the rest of the country. So all the three have this, are now using these Czech technologies. Some lesson learned and recommendations from these type of projects. I would definitely recommend to take a complex approach when going into such. I mean, these recommendations are, of course, done in perspective of innovative European SMEs that want to go and work on projects in the field of smart cities in Eastern Partnership countries. So complex approach, not to do some one-shot project where we sell something, but then it finishes with that. I would strongly recommend to join forces with others, because as you have seen, there is very much of synergy when you work, when you join even academics, when you join people from consultants and engineers which are preparing projects, and when you make more complex projects, even helping with financing, etc. Combine soft and hard part. What do I mean with that? As a soft part, I mentioned it several times, knowledge transfer, trainings, because especially countries like the Czech Republic, I mean, we have went through a lot of things, or our municipalities, our public sector went through a lot of things that now the countries of Eastern Partnership are facing, and there is a big demand on this knowledge. We went maybe also to avoid mistakes we have made and to go faster. So that's definitely something very, very important in this soft part. And hard part, I mean the use of different technology, hardware and software. Bring a complete solution, so not to solve some particular problem, think about a broader approach, and when talking, let's say, about intelligent traffic in the city, not only to concentrate on one aspect, but take it more complexly, because as we have seen, the trams interact with the intersections, with other things, so it is important, I think. Very important, engage local public and private partners. We are bringing, knowledge from our countries and maybe technologies, maybe some software. But what is very important that the local public authorities. So we usually work on projects with municipalities or other public organizations, as you have seen. But also private partners are very important to train afterwards the local company that can service these technologies and continue to develop the projects together afterwards. Very important point, well, we have here the representative from EBRD, financing and also other colleagues mentioned that financing is very crucial. So if you are able not only to propose your product but propose possible financing, it is very important point with which you can bring and start project. And very good thing that I would recommend is to start with some pilot projects, some piloting, and references from it and experience from it can open the doors to much bigger projects, as we have seen. And on this financing, I have added here one slide. The first part is dedicated mainly to our Czech companies and SMEs. Of course, here I would definitely recommend as one very interesting tool, Czech Challenge Fund, which is basically a collaboration between Czech Republic and UNDP, where the Czech Republic finances it, but it is implemented by UNDP. And this finances deployment of innovation in Georgia, Moldova, and some other countries. And we have used this fund for several of the projects that I mentioned. This Czech Challenge Fund gives a grant basically of up to $40,000, which is, I think, sufficient to implement such a pilot project that afterwards you can develop further. And this fund was actually very successful within UNDP. Also they launched afterwards towards this Czech model also similar fund for Slovak Challenge Fund and Polish Challenge Fund, where we have also worked on actually. And it opens the door to other UNDP projects. After that, people from UNDP, Moldova or Georgia know the companies already, and they were able to win several further tenders directly financed by UNDP or even by EU, implemented by UNDP Well, then I would like to mention the program Aid for Trade, which is run by the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Czech Republic and can finance also some projects in Eastern Partnership countries, like pilot implementation, but especially including knowledge transfer and experience sharing. Czech Development Agency, especially through its program B2B, but also for bigger programs. When you want to bring financing, you can also use the National Development Bank of the Czech Republic and, of course, Czech Export Bank and Export Guarantee and Insurance Corporation. And now that brings me to the international organizations, definitely UNDP, EBRD, which we have here, European Investment Bank, and European Union that is supporting a lot projects in Eastern Partnership countries. So that's basically all from my presentation. Thank you very much, and I hope it was interesting for you to see some examples.
Thank you, Michal, very much for your intervention. I at first thought about having the first row of questions on our presenters by myself, but because we are nearing almost the end of our breakout, I would like to open the floor for your questions, from the audience. As you can see, we have microphones situated throughout the hall. So if you would like to ask a question on our presenters, actually now's the time. But if not, I will at least use one of my own questions, because I think that it ties up very, very nicely the topic of smart cities from the point of view of a municipality. The company Invipo that was mentioned by Michal is basically managing public transportation and smart city solutions in various cities. By far the biggest city that I know of is actually Izmir in Turkey, and it's really impressive to see how they basically manage that transportation system in Izmir from their seat in East Moravian Zlín. And as was already mentioned, Invipo basically works as a sort of platform for various modules, various smart city solutions. And my question is actually, if you would recommend to a municipality that would like to start anew with having a smart city system to implement it, what would be like the first modules, the first elements that you would advise them to implement?
Well, you have seen in the presentation this smart city map. That is something we use based on our experience from now already over 50 cities in different countries. As you mentioned, the biggest one being Izmir with 4 million inhabitants, but going down to smaller cities with even tens of thousands of inhabitants. I think what is important, well, this smart city platform, it is used actually by the city itself and municipal organizations that use it to get useful data and information for their decision taking, but also to check the different technologies and data sources, if they were working correctly throughout the city, to create smart city scenarios afterward to optimize it, but also for the citizens. So another important aspect is to give access to citizens for the data. Basically, what is important, I can't pick up just one single area, but what is important to first start with a kind of audit, and I think in this field also programs like Green City Action Plan are very, very useful, that they gives an overview in a city of what is existing, what they are lacking, what they can implement in the future. So even implementing such a smart city platform, you should first start with an audit, looking what you already have, which type of data, which type of technologies, how you could use it, think of different scenarios, and then to pick up modules. I would recommend gradual approach, not to start with a big platform integrating everything, but maybe to take 3 or 4 modules and progressively add further ones. The data from them can be then used as open data, which is also an actual topic. So further SMEs, local university or startups can use this data and build up some new solutions based on them further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if anyone of you is interested to delve more into the topic, the stand of Invipo is actually in the foyer, so you can see it for yourself. Then I would like to also ask a short question to Roman, because again I would like to tie it up with the topic of our business forum. So please, could you explain us, tell us what are the priorities of your company, the strategies in the South Caucasus region, Ukraine, Moldova, what are your goals, the key projects, sectors?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lídl, for the question. I'll maybe step back a little from this technology approach and try to link on our history, because it's quite well known that in the former times Škoda Transportation was extensively presented in the region, and we still preserve our strong footprint, because in the former times the Škoda locomotives were the only passenger mainline locomotives in the complete region of ex-Soviet Union. Then we had a phase of very quick and intensive development, which was fully oriented towards the regions of North America, Western Europe and specifically Scandinavia, because the Finnish national producer Transtech is the part of Škoda Group. That's why we have seen the example of the Helsinki, and 3 years ago, a very significant milestone happened in the history of Škoda, because for the first time since the year 1989, we have presented the 1520 wide gauge electric multiple train for the Baltic region. Now we are fulfilling the contract of supplying a complete fleet of new trains to the Republic of Latvia. The following supplies are for Estonia and then Finland. So in our portfolio, for the first time after several decades, we can propose the technique, really a combination of groundbreaking, like the edge of railway technology, which fully fits the infrastructures of the region we are talking about. And I can proudly say that there are only 2 producers left in Europe which can propose such a technology, and the unique competitive advantage of Škoda Transportation. Like on the other side, we are having like the most modern vehicle in the world for these 1520. So-called 1520 gauge region. At the same time, we are linked to our experience, and we fully respect the habits and the principles of maintenance technology and maintenance infrastructure, because typically now we can see successful experiences and examples of implementing high-speed European trains in the region, but all of them were related to significant capital expenditures, like into the it was not enough to buy vehicles. To accommodate those vehicles, huge maintenance centers had to be constructed, which constitute maybe 1/3 of the investments into the project. And what was our unique competitive advantage, we can fit into the existing maintenance infrastructure of those countries, not involving those huge secondary investments. This is the approach which proved to be successful in the projects I have mentioned in Baltic countries, and not valid for the Scandinavia. And now the same. In Škoda Transportation, we keep the legacy of Tatra, historical Tatra, Czech famous producer. Tatra T3 was 90% the tram of the region. In the previous times, it's the most massively produced tram in the world. And so we still keep the footprint, and now we are taking all the know-how we gained in the harsh competition with the leading European producers, and we are packing it into the needs of the region, trying to bring the very rational solution, combining, because typically, it's no offense and no secret, but the procurement approach of the countries of the Eastern Partnership region is not the same in the most developed Western countries. We have to spend some funds, and we cannot afford top specification speaking car language, but we are really combining the cutting-edge technology with the local approach, and now we are introducing a completely new platform of tramways, and it is a really platform with which we can cover needs of smaller municipalities and also big traffic flows.
Thank you very much for exhaustive answer. Well, to be fair, I need to give two more questions to your colleagues, although we are a bit over time. So, Camilla, actually, I've been very impressed yesterday when I've been reading about that Green Cities project, and my question is, and I think it's very much valid for especially participants from the EAP countries. If you would please put it on a very practical level, I'm a representative of a municipality from Eastern Partnership, and I would like to have green cities plan. So what should I do? How should I practically proceed? Whom should I contact? Yeah.
Okay. So in the most practical of terms, EBRD is active in 38 economies. In each of those 38 economies, we have a resident office, at least one per country, usually more than one per country, so capitals, but also other cities as well. I guess my telegraphic recommendation, because we're over time, is to find the closest EBRD office to you and reach out to them. And there will be green cities experts that can be roped in to start the conversation. But if you're interested in pursuing smart city solutions through a green city program, in that case, be ready to go through the whole green city process, because smart is in service of greener, more environmentally friendly and livable cities, and not just as a technological tool. So yes, reach out to the resident office if you're in an Eastern Partnership country.
Well, thank you for this very practical advice. And last but not least, I would like to end with Miroslav, because we are all the time actually speaking here about smart city solutions that are more suited, I would say, for bigger cities. But on the other hand, the majority of population, not only in the Czech Republic but also in the Eastern Partnership countries, lives actually in smaller cities and in rural areas, and there's also on the rise another concept which is as wide, as undefinable as smart cities, smart villages. So I would like to ask you in the end to also comment on that, if you also work with this concept at the ministry. And how do you perceive the importance of the scale of the city in the context of the smart cities or smart villages approach?
Yeah, thank you for a question, very relevant one. I would surely not make a divide between these two, like smart city, smart village, because it's about smart thing, and smart thing is doing what is efficient given your situation. So if you are a big city, you will probably aim for solutions like Invipo or Škoda Transportation, because you need something robust, you need a lot of data collection, you need a lot of automatic systems. But if you are in a village, you need to find the right access points to the concept of smart. So it probably won't be anything such big, but it can be a very simple thing. If I give example I live in fact in a village of some 700 inhabitants, and recently our mayor put 2 cameras on access roads to the village, and because there are just 2 access roads, so there is good control of all vehicles that access the village, and there were some problems with thefts in homes, and this is now reduced because there are camera recordings, and so this is just a very small step. It's a cheap step, but it's an efficient step. Another one may be just strengthening the connection to the places where people can find work. So supporting public transport, so you can eliminate use of cars, for example, or it can be some very simple thing as distributing meals to seniors from school cafeteria, for example. Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, in the end, because we are more over 12 minutes, something like that, both companies are actually reachable in the foyer, as well as the other two speakers. And thank you very much for your attendance here. And in the end, I will have just one request and one invitation. The invitation is for the working lunch that is also already happening actually in the foyer. And the request is, please, I ask you for applause for our speakers of the breakout on smart city.